Hi, I'm James Harvey, the professor of music theory at the College of Southern Nevada, and with 5-Minute Music Theory, let's start the 5 minutes. This is a video on ledger lines. So we've covered staff lines and clefs. If you don't know what those are, go ahead and check out the earlier video on staff and clefs. We have 3 sets of staves here, no clefs needed for what we're going to be doing here. I'm going to write just simple little note heads in every spot on the staff that we know so far. So that's starting from the bottom line up through the top line and all the spaces in between. Now that's great, that's a decent amount of pitches, but we have a lot more that we can use if we extend the staff. We can actually temporarily add extra lines to these staves by using what are known as ledger lines. And like I said, ledger lines extend the proximities of the staves. We can write notes above and below those last lines, but then we sort of run out of space. So in order to keep going, we need to add an extra little line here called a ledger line. So there's an example of a note that's on a ledger line. The line is just like a small segment of one of the staff lines. You can see that it extends outward past the boundaries of the note just a little bit. Just enough so that you can see it. And it counts like an extra staff line. So whatever note we had here before we started using the ledger line, once we get to the next one, it's 1 pitch higher in the alphabet. So we don't know what the pitch is yet because we haven't assigned a clef to it. But we can even put ledger lines, or what I mean is put notes above ledger lines and in between as well. We can add extra ledger lines. And in fact, we can keep going like this. Let's go ahead and write a clef here. Let's do a treble clef. And in treble clef, this top note above the top line in the staff is a G. And then the next note above it, when we add the ledger line, is an A. And notice that there's space in between each ledger line so that we can see them very clearly. And also notice that I don't add an extra line. Like this next pitch is a B, this one. We don't add an extra line like that. That would be unnecessary to put that line in there because we already know what the pitch is without that extra line. There should be no ledger lines past the pitch that's written. So we could even, believe it or not, go all the way up to something like this, which I'm a violin player. I see that pitch and I can actually, I feel at home because we play way up above the staff like that. You can add ledger lines below the staff as well, and actually you could barely even see that pitch, can you? I'm going to go down to another staff here. Let's do a bass clef staff, and I'll start with the pitch at the very bottom of the staff, which is actually an F. If I continue past that F and go down to the first ledger line, it's an E, and then I go past that and it's a D, and we keep going. You kind of see where this is going. I'm going backwards in the alphabet. B, and we could go pretty ridiculously down like that. Now usually we don't need that many ledger lines. That's what clefs are for. That if I wanted to, for example, write this note, this F in treble clef, I'd have to add a bunch of ledger lines below the staff to be able to get to that pitch. That's unnecessary though because I can just change the clef to a bass clef and then we have it. Ledger lines are useful here and there just for when we need that extra little space, but we shouldn't spend too much time away from the boundaries of the staff like that. Most of the pitches that we'll be working with are confined to the 5 lines within the staves, but every once in a while we will add some extra lines, these ledger lines, to extend the staves and get a little bit more wiggle room with them. And basically that's it. So just a couple of things to really remember about the ledger lines. They are small slices of the staff lines. Notice that the distance between, let's see if I can do this here, putting a little arrow there, here. The distance from the top staff line to the first ledger line is the same distance as the staff lines are to each other. So we wouldn't want a ledger line, for example, I'll write one down here. We wouldn't want one, get out of there. There you go. We could write a ledger line like that, and that's nice and clear. That is very difficult to read. It's a little too far away from the staff. It's too much space compared to the space between the lines and the staff. And that's ledger lines in a 5-minute nutshell. Thanks.